This is Kenn Rashad with HBCU Sports. I am kicking it right now with Grambling State University President Rick Gallot, who is here in Dallas to partake in all of the events building up to the State Fair Classic football game this Saturday at the Cotton Bowl between Grambling State and Prairie View. Rick, brother, thank you for giving me a few minutes to talk to you about things related to Grambling athletics and HBCUs in general.
Well, Ken, look, thank you so much. While I take this selfie of us on air, I don't know if this sets a record for taking a selfie while being interviewed in the Tom Joyner complex and Tom Joyner studio.
We'll have to take some more when this is over with.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to sit down and talk to you. I'm really excited to do this. That's why I came in really late last night so I could be here and sit down with you. So thank you for this opportunity.
I appreciate it. You took over at Grambling in July?
August 1. Yes.
Yeah. Talk about the ride since that time. How has it been for you?
Oh, I mean, it's been incredible. The energy both on campus and everywhere we go, and that's from Washington D.C. to Arizona, here Jackson. I mean, everywhere we've been, there's just been a renewed excitement and energy and optimism about Grambling. Right. And as much as I would love to take the credit for it, I will say that there would have to be one greater than me, right? Like God,
absolutely,
who would be responsible for bringing all of this together at this time. And again, when you look at the rich history and tradition of Grambling and just how big our brand is and how big our reputation is, we just needed someone who understood the value of the Grambling brand to really bring Gram Fam together to really move the university forward. So it's been exciting. I was mentioning just off air that we did Roland Martin's show last month, and just the fact that as a new president of a rural North Louisiana HBCU could get on a national television show lets you know the significance of Grambling.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you mentioned that, and you even talked about this briefly with someone off air before we started this. When you took the position of president at Grambling, you just didn't come home to Grambling. You came home to Grambling.
Right.
People may not be aware of the fact that you didn't just graduate from Grambling. You were actually from Grambling, Louisiana.
That's right.
Very unique in that, again, we're talking small, rural North Louisiana. Talk about, and I'm guessing everything, Grambling has obviously experienced its fair share of challenges. But again, just in a little time that you've been there, has the position been pretty much what you expected? Has it been a little bit more? Is it overwhelming? Or is it, how would you characterize those unexpected things that you may not have been aware of?
Well, I will say, first of all, being home, there wasn't some great transition that was required, and because of being in the state legislature for the past 15 years and representing Grambling in both the House and the Senate, it's not like I was unfamiliar with the campus and with the employees and faculty and staff and others. So the transition was actually a pretty easy one, and also by virtue of being in the legislature and somewhat being in the spotlight, for the last 15, well, really last 20 years, because I did spend 4 years on the city council in Grambling as well. I'm sort of accustomed to the spotlight, so to speak. So it was a very easy personal transition for me. It's just instead of driving from my home going 3 miles to the east to my law office, I was driving 1.5 miles to the west to the Grambling campus, and growing up in the community virtually right off the campus. The transition's been easy. Now I will tell you that what was surprising was, as I went around the campus, and I'm the beneficiary of knowing all of the presidents of Grambling, with the exception of Charles P. Adams, because obviously he was deceased by the time I was born. But knowing Ralph Waldo Emerson Jones, knowing Joseph Johnson, the mark has been set. All I had to do is just get in line and do so many of the things that they did. When you think about Prez and the fact that when he became president of Grambling, we had 122 students, and when he retired, we were over 4,000.
Right.
That shows you that he was a man who knew how to get things done, but he did it with a common man's touch. It wasn't by being a king in the palace.
Right.
He got out. People knew him. They saw him. All the time. The first week I was on campus, I would go around to different offices, and some I was told they hadn't seen a president in 10 years. So and obviously our campus is not that big for a president not to get around. So it was a change in attitude, a change in atmosphere, and it was, you could feel it almost immediately, because they knew that somebody who understood the fact that it gets hot in these buildings or cold in others or whatever. Somebody who understood what was going on. So the transition has been great, and all the feedback we've been getting has been super. And I can't say enough about the communications director and his team, Mr. Will Sutton, and all the energy that he has brought to us transitioning in, and all the opportunities that have been lined up as a result of him being there, and so we're trying to make sure that, like we're here in Dallas now, that when the football team travels and we're going places, we've tried to build in opportunities to meet and talk with media and with others to begin to tell our story, because for too long we've allowed others to tell our story, and they typically don't tell it well. They tend to focus on the negative. And I'll make this other point. I was looking online. One of the local TV stations did a story on related to the campus the other day, and the photograph that they had posted online signifying the university. The sign was dirty, molded, and I'm thinking, and so I went to the sign because I wanted to know if I needed to, bring my power washer from home, and it wasn't dirty, but apparently they just, it was a point in time. They snapped that picture, and they have been using that as the symbol of Grambling. And so I went and met with Greta in the in the communications office. She sent one of our student workers out to take pictures around campus, and we're substitute or submitting that picture to replace that. So the little things sometimes can mean such a great deal, and we will no longer allow anyone to misrepresent who we are. Okay, and you have to you have to be a part of the fiber of this community and this university in order to really feel that passion like I do, and I'm not going to overlook any little thing that may make the difference in terms of how people view Grambling State University.
Speaking with Grambling State University President Rick Gallot, let's pivot to athletics, Grambling athletics. There for some time, the athletic department there has been without a permanent athletic director.
Yes.
Talk about the status of that search right now. Where do things stand?
The application period for athletic director closes tomorrow. On Friday, September 30th. And again, I can't undo anything that any of my predecessors did. It was posted and it's just been languishing out there without any action on it. So we reposted it, wrapped some media around, we sent out press releases, concerning the reposting of it and setting the deadline, because I needed, potential applicants to know that there was a date certain, and we do plan to move on it. Now, and of course, I've heard from a few people to say, well, this isn't a good time to do a search. Some of the best people have good jobs and they're in the middle of football season and all that. And I understand it. I don't know that there will ever be a perfect time to post any position because the probably the top folks do have jobs, but I can't do nothing. Doing nothing is not an option at this point. So ideally, it closes tomorrow. We'll be prepared to announce the search committee, and start the schedule of sorting through the applicants and trying to whittle that group down to a real core group of very promising applicants. So if things go as we plan, then before the end of the year we'll be prepared to name an athletic director, so that when the new year begins, then everything from beginning to craft what next year's budget will look like, scheduling of contests, all of those things can really begin at the beginning of the year. So ideally, that's what we would what we'd like to see. But we're definitely moving on it, and I do intend to hire an athletic director.
Okay. So when you say before the end of the year, are we talking calendar year, fiscal year?
Calendar year.
So
yes.
Before December, you will have a permanent. You intend to have
it is at this point my goal, not knowing whether we're going to have 20 candidates
right.
or 120 in the pool when it closes tomorrow.
Gotcha.
So I put a little asterisk there because I don't know how many we'll have to whittle down. But ideally I would like to have someone in place by the end of this calendar year, so that in January the new AD can go to work.
With respect to some of the concerns that people have expressed to you about the timing of hiring an AD, I have also heard some talk about the fact that because of the instability of the department in terms of not having a permanent AD in place for so long, that in some way might have an impact on the quality of applicants applying for the position. Is there anything to that? Do you find any merit with that belief?
Right. Well, I mean, I think an argument can be made, with a number of assumptions.
Yeah.
To do it. I mean, I'm a lawyer, so I mean, clearly you can right. make an argument on just about anything. The fact of the matter is, regardless of what has happened, we're going to get an AD. Yeah. And we're going to move forward, and so I can't be in paralysis about what my predecessors right. did or did not do. I mean, as I look back, I mean there are a lot of things I believe I would have done differently, but again, the past is the past. We're looking forward.
Right. So we take that, and again, not wanting to look on the negative, and despite not having a permanent AD in place, the one thing that I do find pretty fascinating is that with the APR scores being what they are, and given how HBCUs have been impacted by APR scores, not necessarily meeting the minimum standards and thus becoming ineligible for various postseason tournaments sanctioned by the NCAA and so forth, Grambling finds itself in a very unique position not to have any programs impacted by this year's latest scores. That obviously is a credit to those who are currently in athletics. Talk about that in terms of the process, if any, that's in place to get these programs to meet these minimum benchmarks.
Well, I think you have to take a little more global view of it. We're not just focused on our athletes passing. We're focused on all of our students' success. And so, for instance, I was in an exit interview yesterday with the Title III evaluators and talked about some of the successes we've had with some of the tutoring that's going on campus wide. Again, it's not just with student athletes, it's with all of our students. So I think what you see in terms of the academic performance of our athletes is that we as a whole are doing a better job of retaining our students and working on their on their success. So but again, even with the lack of a permanent AD, there's other staff still in place who have taken on that responsibility, and so again we're obviously excited that that we can show some successes academically campus wide, but we know how important that is that we not take our eyes off the ball and try to move that forward.
One other key point with respect to the once a permanent AD is named, Does Rick Gallo have I guess we all have this, grand plan of making it obviously the best that it can be, the best of all. But what is the strategy, if any, in place in terms of, the steps that athletics will have to take to get to where obviously most would want it to be? I mean, is that a something that you would need to speak with the AD about? Does Rick Gallo have this grand plan already in place that you would like the AD to follow? How do you leverage, what you would like versus what the AD would like with respect to his responsibilities to kind of put that all together?
Well, I think first of all, having a strong team reflects having players who understand their roles. Okay, and as president, I don't intend to try and run the athletic department.
Right.
And so, from the standpoint of expectations, I will expect that the athletic director will craft and live within the budget that he or she sets, that we will grow and expand the revenue generated by our athletic department, the academic component of and ensuring the success of our athletes academically will be another expectation, that we will and we've done things that really don't reflect our location and size when you think about 43 years in the Bayou Classic.
Right,
what other HBCUs play a game like that other than Grambling and Southern.
Right.
I will expect that this athletic director and our whole team will focus a laser focus on the Bayou Classic and its profitability to make sure that we have the best contract, that we have the best sponsors, that we're actually growing that event to all that it should be. And as I'm coming in, the current promoter only has a 1-year contract, and it is our intention to send out an RFP to get some proposals to see if there are better deals out there. So we'll be looking to do that with everything that we do on that campus, and especially as it relates to athletics. The athletic director will be expected to be able to look at the business side of what we're doing and make us more profitable. We have to do that.
We're speaking with Grambling State University President Rick Gallot. Let's pivot to SWAC business, conference business.
Sure.
There was an article published 2 weeks ago regarding the possibility of or the possibility of playing or not playing Jackson State, due, and I want to put this in proper context, due in large part to the new scheduling requirement that has been put in place by the SWAC conference. Previously, it was a 9-game scheduling requirement. It is now moving to 7 games, which means that all SWAC schools won't be playing every year. What led to the New Star publishing this? I mean, obviously there's some history there with the boycott and the players not, playing there for the last 3 years and so forth. What exactly was that about, and where do things stand with that?
Well, and I think the article that you referenced was more so about the fact that we were going to play Jackson, and that it was the third and final year of the agreement that we would play there 3 successive years to make up for lost revenue, et cetera, with with that event you spoke of.
Yeah.
So in the context of, okay, this is the final year, what are you going to do next year was pretty much the question. And from my standpoint, and I think as president I can validly say this, that we would like to begin the sequence again of home and home. So for us to play Jackson next year, it would require Jackson State agreeing to come to Grambling. And so we want them to come and play. Again, I don't think there's anybody on the campus who can speak to this any better than I can. As president of Grambling State University, we would like to play Jackson next year in Grambling. Okay. So if Jackson will agree to come and play us in Grambling, then we will play. If they won't agree to come to Grambling and play us, or something other than going back to Jackson, then certainly we would consider it. And I don't know if a classic or some, like if we were going to Shreveport, for instance, or something like that to play them. I mean, that I think that would certainly be worth considering. But we're not going back to Jackson in 2017.
Understood. So with that said, and I guess this is where, and I don't know if you know the specifics of this. I mean, what say so, if any, does the SWAC conference have, the conference office? I mean, obviously they're responsible for generating or creating the schedule. I mean, is it not a case where if they say, okay, Grambling and Jackson are going to be playing in 2017, then this is the schedule and this is the way it is?
Right.
Or is there something that I'm not aware of? I mean, apparently there are options. You have options. Jackson has options, but doesn't the conference office have the ability to say this is going to be a conference game for 2017?
As I appreciate what was done, and obviously this was done prior to August 1st, that the Council of Presidents, who are the governing body of the SWAC, voted to go to this 7-game schedule.
Right.
And so I can't tell you what went on in the room because this was before I got there. But I respect the decision made by the council, and I don't know that the SWAC office has any authority to do anything at this point because the presidents voted for the current or for the future setup. So again, I respect the decision that they made, and I've expressed to President Myers that we'd love to play you in Grambling next year, and but we're not going back to Jackson, and if that doesn't work, and look, the kind of season we're having right now, there's no shortage of people who want to play us, so but again, as a conference, I will never lose sight of the importance of intra-conference play.
Understood.
I'll never lose sight of that, and but again, if they don't want to come and play us, we'll schedule a game. Somebody will play us.
Right. Speaking of somebody playing you, there is a rumor, and maybe we can break this here because it hasn't been published anywhere that I am aware of, but Grambling is scheduled to play a football game, I believe, in 2018 with a certain university 3 miles down the road. Is it 18? I believe?
It's 18 or 19.
One of them. Okay.
I think it's 19.
In the future.
Yeah, a future game with Louisiana Tech.
Okay.
That is correct, and it will be at Tech.
Yeah, at Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and look, we're excited about that. I think we have finally, and I say we, Louisiana universities have finally come to the realization that it is profitable, and it's popular for us to play each other. Novel idea, right? And so when you look at, and I think certainly Grambling and Southern have been the great beneficiaries of the other schools finally coming to this realization, because when Grambling goes to ULM and sells out its stadium, which hadn't happened in 20 years, they make money, we make money, it's great local entertainment. All our student athletes and band have to do is get on a bus and drive 30 minutes and they're at the venue and they're back home. So it doesn't, the overhead is not that great on that kind of game, but again it creates such a synergy in the entire region where people can come together and watch these two local schools play. Right. And so we are, and Southern played at ULM a few weeks ago. Great time. They played
Tulane, and matter of fact, earlier Southern did. Yeah,
that's right. And we'll play Tulane next year.
Yes, that is correct.
And when we show up, and our bands show up, fans will fill the stadium. And so from that standpoint, we will certainly be looking to schedule more intra-state games. We've never, from what I understand, Grambling has never played Southeastern down in Hammond.
Right.
That would be a great draw, in that, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Hammond area. Right. I feel very good about, the possibility that we could schedule a game and play there with with a great attendance. And as long as we're able to sell some tickets, then I think that a game like that would make a lot of sense for us. Nicholls State, I'd like for us to play Nicholls. We played McNeese a couple of years ago. Northwestern, the same thing. We're definitely looking for these in-state games because again, it gives the people of Louisiana, first of all, the opportunity to see these two Louisiana schools play. And it helps us budget-wise to be able to do that.
Right. Contrary to the rah-rah and assist boom-bah, athletics is a business. It is at the college level.
Absolutely.
And I want to get your thoughts. There has been a lot said about the money games, if you will.
Sure.
And I put my hands in quotes because the New York Times recently published an article about HBCU and the impact that money games have on our programs. And I'm one who personally thinks it's a tad bit overblown because it's not just HBCUs that play money games. You look at the so-called Greater Five, those smaller FBS conferences and other FCS conferences that are constantly playing up. What are your thoughts about money games? Now, granted, we've seen some lopsided victories. We've seen it in Savannah State. We've seen it with South Carolina State, in which they even played with the 12 minutes instead of 15 minutes per quarter and so forth. I mean, do you have a problem with that? Now, granted, hell almost froze over in Tucson a few weeks ago.
Right, absolutely.
Money game.
Absolutely.
But what is your overall viewpoint of schools playing these type of games? I mean, do you look at it as just business as usual, or do you think there's some validity to the concerns that people might have about playing these type of games?
Well, the first thing I'll say about it is that the only way we would play these so-called money games would be with an agreement with our coach that it's an appropriate game to play. I mean, I would never try and I would certainly not support an athletic director scheduling a game that the coach did not did not consent to, because I think it's important to not schedule a game that will potentially get our players hurt, because there are we will have a whole season to play, and typically these are the early games. And so for instance, we'll never play LSU.
Right.
I mean, that's just not for the level of play. It just that wouldn't be a money game that would be worth us playing, okay? And when you look at, even, Tech, which I guess probably would be the second strongest program. I mean, even, when Tech plays LSU, I mean, that, so it would have to be one that number one does not have the major. I mean, there's always a potential for somebody to get injured, but I mean, there are just some contests that just would not be worth doing. So it would have to be one that makes sense and not put our players and our program in jeopardy. Beyond that, I think certainly going forward, it's going to be important to look at the bottom line. And again, not only is our football program, thanks to Eddie Robinson and all the great players who've come through that program, how prominent that is, but the band, is prominent as well. And I think, when you look at what we did in Arizona a few weeks ago, Arizona's band did not take the field at halftime. We had the entire halftime, which never happens. So I think that, that's a good sign that, our band is just that popular and that established that, a major school like that would just relent and give us the whole halftime.
Right.
So going forward, certainly our contracts will have to reflect not only reasonable travel for our football team, there will have to be reasonable travel for our band, because, people show up to see the Grambling world famed Tiger Marching Band.
Right.
So again, we've got a program that, despite, again, our size and location, has a star, a celebrity status that people are really drawn to us and like to come and see us. So so we certainly are not unmindful of that, and any contract negotiations going forward will reflect that that value of our brand.
Speaking with Grambling State University President Rick Gallot, we're going to wind us down. Rick, just one more thing. Going back to the business at Grambling with athletics, there are these rumors And of course, and a lot of this may be due to the fact that an athletic director hasn't been named just yet. So many of these issues or the concerns that I've heard Grambling Knights talk about, one in particular, Coach Fobbs, who has obviously had a phenomenal 3 years in his third season. This is the final season of his contract. There are some who, again, are a little weary that there haven't been public discussions, if you will, or anything published about the possible contract extensions. What can you talk, or what can you say about that with respect to the future of Coach Fobbs as Grambling head coach and the current status of his contract?
I can say this: Coach Fobbs loves Grambling. Grambling loves Coach Fobbs. And I think that, just the caliber of coach that he is and the caliber of players that he's been recruiting, I think, just speaks well, but not just the talent. And I tell you, when I sat down with Coach, probably my second week in office, and really just spending some one-on-one time together, and he said something that really stood out and I thought was very profound. He said, when I'm out recruiting a player, and he said, I'm the father of two girls. He said, I've got two daughters. He said, when I'm recruiting a player, I'm going to recruit a guy who I can bring home to my home. He can spend the night, and I'm not, worried about the welfare of my daughters. He said, that's the kind of player I want playing for me, and I think it shows, And so, not only is he an incredibly gifted coach, he's an incredibly spiritual man. He puts God first in everything that he does, and he has really moved our program forward in a way of an Eddie Robinson. And so, we are, I think there are so many things that make Grambling such a great fit for Coach Fobbs look, he could be successful, anywhere, because he's a great coach, he's a great man, and I know that, other programs, would certainly be would be very successful with him at the helm. But there's no place like Grambling. And so there is that interconnectedness that he has with us and we have with him that he won't get anywhere else, and we won't get in another coach like we have with him. So I'm the guy that sees the glass half full, and I have every belief going forward that Coach Fobbs is going to be our coach next year, and the year after, and the year after, and the year after that. Okay, so I'm committed to him, and I have no reason to believe that he's not going to be. I'm totally committed to him being our coach next year and going forward.
Final question.
Sure.
How has fundraising been since you got at Grambling? I know that's another issue, and with respect to fundraising, I know there's been fundraising efforts for GAP, but what about athletics? How has that been for you so far?
That is an area that, again, you've got to have the whole team in place for that to really work. Now, I will say that we have a lot of committed alums out there who are doing a lot of things to help the university, both on the academic side and on the athletic side. For instance, just last week, the Friends of Football presented our cross-country track team championship rings in recognition of their and they've won so many championships. That the track program has really not gotten the attention that it deserves, but going forward, thanks to Will Sutton and others, they will begin to get the kind of attention that they deserve to get. So I will tell you that there are a lot of groups out there, and quite honestly, the phase I'm in right now is really just trying to understand all of the groups who are out there, and then the extent and impact of money that they're raising and spending on behalf of our students and our student athletes. So going forward, that will obviously be an absolute necessity that the AD and I, along with our advancement, and that's one thing we didn't talk about. We are in the process of interviewing our finalist for Vice President of Advancement, who is our main fundraising person. That will be taking place on campus next week. So again, all of these things, Ken, are really coming together at a really good time, and we are looking to build a team that will complement one another. We will not have a team that's in competition with one another. Everybody will understand their role and staying in their lane and again being a support to one another. Again, I'm not going to be on the sidelines trying to coach the football team. That's what Broderick Fobbs is for, okay? Or I'm not going to be in the press box, sending him text messages telling him what plays to run. That's not my role. My role is to make sure that we provide him with everything he needs to be successful. And so again, we are in the process of team building, and again, because I am a man of faith, and I do believe that this is where God has for me to be now, that he will provide me with all the talent on our administrative team that we need to move the university forward. And I absolutely am convinced that our best days are still ahead.
We've been talking with Grambling State University President Rick Gallot. Brother Gallot, thank you, sir, for taking a moment to speak with me, to share information that I think not only myself as a Grambling, other Gramblingites, but those who follow HBCU sports as a whole will appreciate and will hopefully make them all the more wiser. But good luck to you going forward. And again,
can I say one more thing,
yes,
Ken?
Sir. Yes,
Look,
sir.
Our enrollment is up this semester. We're up 6.8%. 35% increase in first-time freshmen.
Wow.
We're incredibly excited about that. Our goal over the next 2 to 3 years is to get to, right now we're at 4863. We're looking to hit about 6,000. We are definitely aggressively recruiting not just athletes, but students, and so I think that's a testament to the fine work that we're doing at Grambling. So gram.edu, go to our website. If you're a college senior listening to this, get your application in. We want you at Grambling, because Grambling is the place where everybody is somebody.
President Gallot, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ken.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
All right.